Right now at 6, area kids get the chance to shop with the KOAM in an annual Christmas tradition.
And we've got dense fog across a good portion of the area. Take a look at that. We'll have details on the fog and how long it'll last in that forecast to get you out the door coming up.
Plus, a beloved holiday tradition in Miami is back after nearly 5 years.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Well, good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It's 6 a.m. I'm Elise Noe.
I'm Chris Warner. It is very Monday, December the 9th. It's kind of a dreary day out there. It's making it a little slow to get going this morning.
Yeah.
I think both of us have been off, even our folks in the back. Usually they tolerate some of my shenanigans. I haven't even had that many shenanigans this morning. It's kind of a dreary Monday, you know?
Sure. It's warm enough out there.
Yeah, it's not bad. It's just, yeah. And we're going to show you the with a look from our camera downtown Pittsburgh. Now, Pittsburgh, of course, is an exciting and vibrant community. It's just right now, it certainly doesn't look like it. Take a look at that dense fog out there. It's extraordinarily dense, all right? The entire western half of our area, dense fog advisories. We're going to talk about that in just a moment. MoDOT camera 20th and range line in Joplin. Fog not as dense in Joplin, but reduced visibility still being reported out there. And as I mentioned, the entire western half of our area, dense fog advisories. Most of them through 10 a.m. Northeast Oklahoma, last check, they run through 9 o'clock this morning. But we could still be dealing with reduced visibilities as late as noon or 1 o'clock across the area. So again, low beams, not your high beams, fog lights if you have them. And the most important advice, it is better to be a few minutes late than not arrive at all. But look at some of these numbers. We've got 0.3 of a mile visibility, Pittsburgh, Fort Scott, Chanute. This is all of Bourbon and Crawford County, by the way, with very dense fog. Reduced visibilities below a mile in Bentonville. We have reduced visibilities across the entire region, as you can see. Even though we don't have dense fog advisories to the east, that doesn't mean it's not dense. And not all of this, though, is fog. Some of it is drizzle, and it's coming down heavy enough that it's reducing visibilities on its own. This is the Future Track's interpretation of drizzle as we head into the afternoon. So again, noon, 1 o'clock, we could still be dealing with some reduced visibilities. Maybe not as significantly so as we're seeing right now, but nonetheless, do be prepared for that. By later this afternoon into the evening, we will be mostly cloudy, and then late evening and overnight, we will be partly cloudy as a cold front pushes through and starts to make it much colder. We're sitting at 48 in Joplin, 46 in Pittsburgh right now, and across the region, most of us are in the upper 40s across the area. We do now have a few 50s, Miami, Veneta, and Nowata, but otherwise, as Elise mentioned, not a bad start to the day. It's cool for sure, but not that bad. We're looking at about the mid-40s, kids getting on the bus, cloudy skies, foggy, and a calm breeze. By the time they come home, mostly cloudy, northwest winds 5 to 10, right around 52, and that's where our highs are heading for today. Low 50s for most of us, maybe some upper 40s, patchy fog, drizzle through at least noon, maybe 1 o'clock, and then skies clearing into the evening. Now that cold front will drop our temperatures, and it will get cold for the next couple of days. It's also going to get breezy tonight. Details and all of that in the full forecast. That's coming up here in just a few more minutes. Elise?
All right, thanks, Chris. A man has been killed after he was struck by a vehicle Friday night. A man was crossing Missouri Highway 171 on foot when he was struck by a 2000 Ford F-150. The man's next of kin has been notified, and the 17-year-old driver of the pickup was not injured. An Asbury woman was killed in a car accident Saturday when her vehicle was T-boned by a driver under the influence. The 36-year-old woman was transported to a hospital where she died of her injuries. A 20-year-old male identified as Malachi Doyle of Topeka, Kansas, was arrested. Now he is being charged with a felony driving while under the influence of drugs, causing the death of another and failure to yield. Well, Joplin's first responders were alerted to a house fire from the 700 block of South Roosevelt early Sunday morning. Flames and smoke were visible near the rear end of the single-story home. Visible flames were extinguished within 5 minutes, but firefighters spent some time working on the roof as the fire had extended but not breached the roof decking. And there were no injuries to the residents or the firefighters. Well, now you can stay up to date with the latest news, weather, and sports with the KOAM Plus TV streaming app. It's available on Amazon Fire TV, Android TV, Apple TV Plus, and Roku. The player is also available on our news and weather apps as well as our website. Watch live streaming anytime, absolutely free. The KOAM Plus TV streaming app. Well, Joplin and Seneca police officers took a few kids Christmas shopping over the weekend. Captain Will Davis of the Joplin Police Department says that around 200 kids got the chance to shop with a cop. Now each kid was able to choose from teachers, school counselors, or other school leaders to shop with.
Members of the Joplin Police Department, we come out and we get the opportunity to take the kids on a shopping spree that may not be as fortunate to have a good Christmas. So we get to take them out. They each get $100 to go out and buy whatever they want, toys, clothes, whatever they need, and just kind of an event to kind of get to connect with the community and the youngsters here in Joplin.
Shop with a Cop is an annual event giving the chance for kids to participate every year. The First United Methodist Church of Fort Scott showcased over 80 different nativity scenes Sunday. Over 50 people from the congregation provided the scenes. The scenes range from more traditional nativities to one with VeggieTales and rubber ducks. Cookies and drinks were provided for those who attended.
Last year we got the outdoor nativity that we have. We hadn't had one before. And we picked that up in like March of last year, and some of us were talking and went, we should do a whole thing with this.
My first few sets were back in the 70s, and I just liked, and my mother loved them, and so she and I together accumulated all of this.
Rita and Doug have collected over 60 nativities. The artificers in Fort Scott held their Christmas show this weekend. 9 artists whose art forms include pastels, clay pottery, and mixed media sculptures were available for people to learn from. 22 artists in total from all over the world had some form of art represented at the showcase.
Keep creating. Art is very subjective. I think that's the hardest part of being an artist, is always doubting yourself or comparing yourself to another artist. And just because you don't think you're as good as another artist doesn't mean that your art is not quality and doesn't have a space somewhere. We all have a space to be an artist.
The Christmas show is a part of Fort Scott's Christmas on the Bricks event. Well, for years, a beloved tradition in Miami was the holiday home tours, which helped inspire decorating across the community. But like many things, COVID-19 led to the activity being paused, and for years it didn't come back. Not until this year, where the community has come together to bring this holiday tradition back to life. 6 different homes welcome the community in to showcase their holiday decor. Then organizers say the tour tradition brings new meaning to coming home for the holidays.
I think it goes back to coming home for Christmas. It's the hometown feel. It's being made to feel special. It's having those memories of what it looked like in Miami on Main Street when they were little. And so we try to encompass all of that in the coming home for Christmas theme this year.
All proceeds from the holiday homes tours will go to benefit Miami Main Street and the Downtown Miami Christmas Foundation. And that's a look at this morning's top stories and weather in our first 7 minutes, coming up on the KOAM Morning News. Google is suing the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau in response to Friday's CFPB decision. Plus, the 24-year rule of Bashar al-Assad in Syria came to an end over the weekend. And Chris returns with another look at your Monday forecast. You're watching the KOAM Morning News. We'll be right back. Well, topping Nation Watch this morning, Apple is the best run company in the U.S. according to a new ranking. It's the Wall Street Journal's annual Management 250, and Apple takes the top spot from Microsoft, which comes in second this year. Now, 2 other tech companies follow, and they're NVIDIA in third and Intel in fourth. The Wall Street Journal says it grades contenders in areas like innovation and employee engagement. Google is fighting back against a U.S. regulatory agency. The online powerhouse filed a lawsuit Friday against the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. It's in response to Friday's CFPB decision to place Google's payment products entity under federal supervision. The agency is responsible for supervising financial firms to make sure they're complying with consumer protection laws. But Google says the regulatory action would be burdensome. The company also claims the agency's reach is based on, quote, a small number of unsubstantiated user complaints. The peer-to-peer payment service is no longer available in the U.S. Well, this morning, there's a jubilation and new questions after the fall of Syria's brutal dictator. The 24-year rule of Bashar al-Assad came to an end there after the weekend as rebels advanced into the capital after a swift days-long offensive. Assad is believed to have fled to Russia, and yesterday President Joe Biden said the situation offers a historic opportunity for the Syrian people to build a better future, while adding that the U.S. will also work to protect against threats in the region, such as ISIS militants. Naomi Ruckham has the latest from New York.
Celebration in Syria after the downfall of Bashar al-Assad. In just days, armed rebels took key cities before claiming the capital, Damascus.
The speed at which that unfolded was surprising, I think, to most everybody in the international community.
Russian state media outlets report that Assad and his family fled to Moscow and were given asylum. His once impenetrable palace ransacked. As his country descended into a bloody, nearly 14-year civil war, Assad was propped up by Russia, Iran, and Hezbollah militants, who carried out a brutal campaign of documented war crimes, including indiscriminate airstrikes and chemical weapons attacks. Overnight, dozens of Syrian migrants who fled to neighboring Turkey lined up at the border, hoping to return home.
At long last, the Assad regime has fallen.
Yesterday, President Joe Biden said it is a moment of both historic opportunity and one of risk and uncertainty as Syria pivots from more than 50 years of Assad family rule.
This process will be determined by the Syrian people themselves. The United States will do whatever we can to support them.
The U.S. military says it conducted airstrikes on ISIS targets in central Syria Sunday. Israel has deployed forces into a buffer zone along its shared border with Syria, saying it's to ensure the safety of its citizens. Naomi Ruckham, CBS News.
Yesterday, President Biden acknowledged ongoing efforts to find American journalist Austin Tice, who went missing in Syria 12 years ago. The president says he believes Tice is alive and that he is committed to returning him to his family. And that's a look at some of today's top national stories. Here's Chris with a look at your forecast.
Yeah, we've got cloudy skies across the area on the Skywatch Storm Tracker, and we do have some patchy fog out there as well. Not overly dense on this camera, but we are dealing with it. We'll have another look at your forecast when we come back.
Welcome back. We have Lori Horton in the studio with us this morning, and she's here to teach us how to make some bourbon chocolate sugar cookies. Sounds delicious.
Yes.
They look wonderful.
You know, 'tis the season for some fun recipes. This one's maybe a little bit more for the adults.
Sure.
But as we remember, alcohol always bakes out, so that makes it perfectly fine. We've got a couple of kind of things we need to do to prepare before we really start mixing up this cookie dough. So the first one is we're going to make our sugar that we're going to roll the cookies in. So if you look at my finished ones over here, these have a really nice crackle coating to them. And what we're going to do that with is to actually use what is called a raw sugar or a turbinado sugar. And it's a big grain. You'll find it generally in a bigger box like this at the grocery store, but kind of near the regular sugar. We're going to do about a cup of this, and for this entire batch, I actually usually just make this a heavy cup because you need just a little more than that, just like a tall cup of that. So you're going to use quite a bit, and we're going to pour this into a container to keep it kind of tidy as we roll those balls of dough in there once we get all of that mixed up. But to make that really a little extra, we're going to add our adult beverage to that this morning. It's a little early to sample this, but it's 5
o'clock somewhere.
It's 5 o'clock somewhere, absolutely. It was 5 o'clock not that long ago. But we're going to add a few teaspoons of our bourbon, and you can go whatever your favorite is on this. As I said, it's going to bake out. So don't go for expensive, top shelf alcohol on this. You're just getting a little bit of the flavor. And if that's a problem, of course, you can always use a flavoring or an extract in its place. But honestly, the reason that we use alcohol in some of our recipes is to leave that flavor behind and let that alcohol, that liquid, evaporate out as it bakes. So we're just going to take that, and you can really smell that bourbon this morning. And we're just going to kind of soften up that sugar. It's going to look like wet sand. That's exactly what we're going for. So just let that set, and we're going to put that aside for a little bit, because we want that to really soak in and to get that flavor.
For how long would you say?
You know, anytime I do this, I just do it first thing and set it aside while I do everything else. So it's probably 30 minutes to an hour. You know, there's no set time it doesn't need, but I think kind of the more the better on this, because you really get that flavor infused into the sugar. So the next thing that we're going to do is actually our last ingredient into the cookie batter, and that is going to be some semi-sweet chocolate. And these are the baking chocolate bars that you'll buy. They're not super yummy to just eat out of the package, but they're great when we bake with them. And I'm going to take about 2/3 of that package. It's a 4-ounce package. We want 3 ounces. And we're going to chop this up really finely so that it's small pieces. And that'll be our last ingredient in the cookie dough. When we come back, we're going to stack those ingredients. It's kind of important how we layer them into our dough as we mix it up. So we'll talk about that a little bit, and we'll get to our finished product.
Sounds like a plan. Stick around. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to the KOAM Morning News. We're going to take a quick round around the 4 states, around the area at least, with some cameras. So this is our camera downtown Pittsburgh. Still very dense fog within the city of Pittsburgh, and really throughout the bulk of southeast Kansas and northeastern Oklahoma, which we'll show you in a moment. Heading over to 7th and Range Line. Now, we're just on the edge of it, so we're not necessarily dealing with the fog. But you see how wet the roadways are and little spots on the camera? We've got drizzle. So not all of the reduced visibilities are as a result of fog. Some of it is heavy drizzle. MoDOT camera 20th and Range Line in Joplin. Again, looking a little hazy out there, as is the MoDOT camera 32nd and Range Line. And again, the roadways are wet because we're dealing with that drizzle out there. Here's those dense fog advisories. The entire western half of our area, in Kansas through 10 a.m., Oklahoma, they run through 9 a.m. But look at these visibilities. It has actually gotten worse since about 20 minutes ago. Yates Center, Iola, Fredonia, Chanute, Fort Scott, Pittsburgh, all reporting visibilities under 1 mile. And in some cases, like Iola and Chanute, well under 1 mile. We're talking near zero visibility on parts of 54 around Iola, in between Iola and Yates Center and Fort Scott. You've got to slow down. Low beams, not your high beams. Fog lights if you have them. Take time, take care. It is better to be a few minutes late than not arrive at all. And with the fog this dense, things are going to change rapidly on your visibility, so you've got to slow down. You've got to take it easy out there this morning. That fog trying to creep into the Missouri side, but thankfully not as dense here. Not as dense in Oklahoma, but still 1.5 miles. Miami, Grove, Anita, that's still not great visibility. Between the fog and the drizzle, that will actually continue through about noon, 1 o'clock, so we could be dealing with at least slightly reduced visibilities through the early afternoon before that begins to clear out. We're otherwise going to be cloudy, cool today, mostly cloudy by the evening. We'll go partly cloudy overnight. Cold front pushes through. Initially, the only thing we notice is the winds will shift out of the north and increase, but overnight, temperatures will really begin to drop. Now we're starting our Tuesday in the 30s. Still breezy out there. Partly cloudy skies through the day on Tuesday and much colder. And that will translate into our Wednesday as well. In fact, we'll be even colder going into Wednesday, starting our day into the 20s for most of us and only into the upper 30s across a good portion of the region by noon. Temperatures right now, we are sitting at 48 in Joplin. That's what it feels like. Visibility at the airport is 4 miles. Winds are calm. Across the area, most of us, we're sitting in the mid to upper 40s. We got some 50s, Newada, Veneta, and Miami, but otherwise not a bad start to the day. It'll be about 47 now with the cloud cover, the fog, the drizzle. Temperatures really don't move much, about 50 by 11 o'clock this morning. Highs today, upper 40s. Most of us should at least make the low 50s. In Tuesday, Wednesday, upper 30s, low 40s. North winds tonight start gusting to 20. By tomorrow, they're upwards of 25 to 30. And then we start warming right back up, pushing close to 60 by Friday and Saturday with a few shower chances. Still pretty warm as we head into Monday. Showers out there, and then another cool down by the middle of next week. Upper 40s next Wednesday with some shower chances. Let's check your forecast. We're going to send it over to Lise now with Health Watch.
All right, thanks, Chris. Well, more raw milk has been contaminated with the bird flu. Raw milk from Fresno, California has recalled its whole milk and cream products after state officials found the virus in multiple samples. No human cases have been reported so far, And doctors warn people not to consume raw milk, but President-elect Trump's nominee to run the nation's health, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., says he plans to expand raw milk consumption. A blood test that moms-to-be get to check for fetal disorders in their babies can also be beneficial for the mother. A study in the New England Journal of Medicine found these basic blood tests called cell-free DNA sequencing can also detect hidden signs of cancer. Many medical groups recommend expectant mothers get the tests. While it's assumed extreme heat puts the elderly at the greatest risk, a new study found young people are actually more likely to die from heat. According to the study by Columbia Climate School, 75% of heat-related deaths affects people under 35. Now, the reason, well, young adults are more likely to be working in outdoor labor jobs like farming and construction, and more likely to be participating in strenuous sports. And that's a look at some of today's top health stories. We'll be right back. Right now at 6:30, Granby, Missouri celebrates its 20th annual Hmong New Year celebration.
We've got dense fog across a good portion of the area to contend with this morning. We'll talk about that and the forecast to get you out the door coming up.
Plus, volunteers in Joplin come together to make sure the community stays warm as temperatures drop.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Well, good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It's 6:30. I'm Elise Noe.
I'm Chris Warner. It is now Monday, December the 9th, and it is very foggy out there this morning.
It really is, isn't it?
Could not see our tower lights until I got almost to the station.
Yeah.
And even then, it was difficult to see even the low ones. So it is very foggy, very low ceiling out there as well. And it could be this way for a while. We're not used to, reduced visibilities lasting super long, but we could see some reduced visibilities as late as noon, 1 o'clock today. So lots to contend with, lots to be safe with, and we're going to start with a look outside from our camera in downtown Pittsburgh, where you can see that dense fog. This shot has been almost unchanged all morning, so we've got the reduced visibilities there. You head over to the MoDOT camera 20th and range line. It's a little bit on the hazy side out there, but not all of this reduced visibility business is the result of fog. Some of it is just some heavy drizzle that's resulting in its own reduced visibilities. In fact, we have dense fog advisories across the entire western half of our viewing area. Kansas, they run through 10 a.m., and in Oklahoma, they run until 9 o'clock this morning. And here's why. Look at those reduced visibility numbers. Look at this. We've got Fredonia, Yates Center, Chanute, Iola, Fort Scott, Pittsburgh, all reporting visibilities well under a mile. So we're talking near zero on parts of 54 and around Iola and Chanute. So you need to slow down. Low beams, not your high beams. Fog lights if you have them. And as we've said 100 times, it is better to be a few minutes late than not arrive at all. And in this kind of fog, you've really got to slow down and pay very close attention to what you're doing this morning. Patchy drizzle, maybe even some fog, will continue through about noon, 1 o'clock with otherwise cloudy skies. We'll start to go mostly cloudy later in the afternoon and evening, and then by late evening, we're going to go partly cloudy. Cold front pushes through initially. The first thing we notice is the wind shift, and then temperatures get cold tonight. Not bad this morning, though. 48 in Joplin, 46 in Pittsburgh, and around the region, temperatures for most of us in the mid to upper 40s. We have a string of 50s, Nowata, Veneta, and Miami this morning. Kids getting on the bus, again, foggy, about 46, cloudy skies otherwise. Winds will be calm, and when that bus brings them back home, low 50s, northwest wind, 5 to 10, still mostly cloudy skies, but at least improved visibilities. And we'll have the reduced visibilities for at least noon, maybe 1 at the latest, low 50s for most of us for highs. Clearing skies this evening, cold front tonight, winds increase, temperatures will decrease. We'll have those details for you in the full forecast here in just a few more minutes. Elise?
All right, thanks, Chris. Well, Pittsburgh tradition, enters its 74th year. The Kiwanis Pancake Breakfast was held Saturday at Memorial Auditorium. Now, for $7, people could enjoy 2 pancakes, 2 sausage links, and coffee. The money raised at this fundraiser goes to the Kiwanis missions of helping children. Music was performed at the event by J3 Band, Pittsburgh Trombone Quartet, and more.
I just think, I love Hallmark movies, and to me this is one of
a Hallmark movie here in Pittsburgh. It's just so wonderful to see people come together, both the volunteers, but also everybody that comes and has breakfast here to support the community and the kids of the community. I think it's just wonderful.
Some organizations Pittsburgh Kiwanis has given money to from this feed includes Habitat for Humanity, Fostering Connections, and the Salvation Army. Well, the Missouri Southern Choral Society hosted its 45th holiday concert Sunday at the First Community Church in Joplin. Songs performed include Silent Night, Carol of the Bells, and Charlie Brown Christmas, and many more. Well, special performances were also included from students at MSSU.
I just love being a part of the music and a part of the fellowship of this group. We come together to sing and to make beautiful music and to do that in community.
The Choral Society has been working on this performance since August. The volunteer group Chase the Chill of Southwest Missouri is working to help keep people warm, a mission they've had for the past 10 years. A record-breaking number of 2,000 hats, scarves, and gloves has been collected this year. Donations are often knitted or crocheted by hand, with volunteers hoping to support the community by doing what they love. Now, when donations are collected, volunteers help distribute them across town, leaving them at parks, on benches, or at trolley stops so people who need them can find them.
The day that we went out and we distributed all over town, I was driving down 32nd Street and I saw a woman wearing a scarf that I had knitted. And I don't know, I just thought that, like, I got like goosebumps, and I'm like, that is just, it's really great to know.
This year, volunteers with Chase the Chill Southwest Missouri also made 112 pet sweaters so even our four-legged friends can stay warm this winter. The Spiva Center for the Arts hosted a winter welcome at the Cornell Complex in Joplin. The event is a maker's market consisting of 12 vendors, and the attendees could also make their ornaments and make a paper snowflake for the challenge of making the Cornell Complex snow. It also coincides with the unveiling of a new band canopy on the Liggett and Platt Green.
Bringing it all together has been probably my favorite part. Seeing people just light up when they find something special, and the gifts that they get to choose, and be able to support local artists too is just a bonus and a cherry on the cake.
The event would conclude with the performance of an evening in Kringle City by Connect to Culture. The Southwest Missouri Hmong Association is holding its 20th annual Hmong New Year celebration in Granby. The New Year celebration allows residents to interact with Hmong culture. The Hmong people in Southwest Missouri can trace their heritage back to China and Southeast Asia 4,000 years ago. The celebration includes traditional folk music, a fashion show, lunch, and a traditional dance competition.
It's still so important for us to keep our roots, to keep our identity of who we are as a Hmong American, but also to be able to share that with our community. So in the next coming year, I hope that we could get more of our community to come join us so that we can share our culture with all the other Americans, because we're all here for the same reason. We're all one I want everyone to be united as an American family.
Around 1,300 Hmong people called Missouri home. And that's a look at our top news stories coming up this half hour on the KOAM Morning News. American Airlines announced it will continue to suspend its flights to Haiti over safety and security concerns. And we have a cool and cloudy day today. We'll have what to expect with Chris Warner in the Skywatch Weather Center. You're watching the KOAM Morning News. We'll be right back. And Consumer Watch this morning. According to the Consumer Product Safety Commission, there are around 160 decorating-related injuries every day during the holiday season, and sometimes those accidents are deadly. Christine Lazar reports.
Last year, on Christmas Day, firefighters rushed to a Miami area home after the Christmas tree caught fire, leaving behind major damage. No one was injured, but in 2021, a similar situation near Philadelphia turned deadly. Investigators believe a faulty electric star on top of a dry tree led to the fire that killed a father and two of his children.
Why is it so important that we make sure that our Christmas tree is watered? If your Christmas tree is in water, it gets dry really fast, and a dry tree can go up in a burst of flames.
Alexander Hohen-Sarek is chair of the Consumer Product Safety Commission, which set up this demonstration to show just how fast it can happen. Both trees are set on fire with a device at the bottom. The one on the left is watered and the flame smolders. The one on the right is dry, and in seconds, the ceiling is engulfed in flames. Experts say candles can also pose a danger. It's important to not place them next to anything flammable. And every year, people get hurt putting up decorations. During the 2023 holiday season, nearly 15,000 people were treated for decorating-related injuries.
We see a lot of falls around this time of year, mostly from people using ladders. Have somebody there to spot you when you're using a ladder. Put the ladder on a firm, flat surface to ensure that it's not going to tip over.
If you are using that ladder to put up lights, make sure there are no frayed wires or loose sockets. A simple step that can prevent a tragedy this holiday season. Christine Lazar, CBS News, Los Angeles.
American Airlines says it's suspending flights to Haiti indefinitely after initially banning them through mid-February. American, Spirit, and JetBlue halted flights last month after confirming their planes were hit by gunfire while traveling in Haiti's airspace. No passengers were injured, and American says it will reevaluate its decision later next year. Well, Moana 2 continued its record-breaking run over the weekend, topping the domestic box office with an estimated $52 million. Moviegoers also returned to Oz as Wicked swept in close to $35 million for the second spot, and Gladiator 2 eased its way to the top 3, earning more than $12 million domestically. And speaking of Oz, it didn't take 3 clicks for a pair of ruby slippers from the beloved 1939 classic The Wizard of Oz film to find a new home. The pair, worn by actress Judy Garland, sold for a whopping $28 million at a Dallas auction over the weekend. Now, the slippers had previously gone missing for 13 years after a career criminal stole them from a museum in Garland's hometown of Grand Rapids, Minnesota in 2005, attempting one last score. The FBI recovered the shoes in 2018, and the thief later pleaded guilty and was sentenced to time served due to poor health. And that's it for Consumer Watch. Here's Chris with another look at your forecast.
Yeah, if you click those ruby slippers together 3 times, you will end up right here in Kansas, where we are dealing with some very dense fog. So you may arrive and not even be aware you're in Kansas. This is a live look from our camera downtown Pittsburgh. You can see that dense fog continues. Still some light fog in the Joplin area on the MoDOT camera at 20th and Range Line. Dense fog advisories again for the entire western half of our area. Kansas through 10 a.m., Oklahoma through 9 a.m. And here's a look at this. We're now at 0 visibility in Iola and still significantly reduced for Fredonia, Chanute, Yates Center, Fort Scott, and Pittsburgh, as well as Independence now. This is trying to creep into the Missouri side, not getting as dense, but still, you need to watch out, slow down, low beams, not your high beams. And remember, it's better be a few minutes late than not to arrive at all. Now, the fog, some of these reduced visibilities, not just directly related to the fog, some of it is heavy drizzle that's occurring in some locations, and this could continue through noon to 1. So again, not significantly reduced visibilities by the late morning and early afternoon, but still reduced visibility is possible. Otherwise, cloudy skies, mostly cloudy by the evening, and then we'll start to go partly cloudy overnight as a cold front pushes through and starts to drop our temperatures. We're going to have another full look forecast in just a moment, as well as birthdays and anniversaries, but first, here's what's happening on CBS Mornings.
I'm Gail Kane. Coming right up on CBS Mornings, David Begnaud is dipping into his Dear David mailbag to tell us about an incredible college student who was a lifeline for thousands of people while a hurricane ravaged his state. And get this, he did it all from his dorm room. Looks like a dorm room to me. Plus, multi-award-winning actor, that's Billy Crystal. Love him. We'll be here to talk about his thrilling new Apple TV series. It's called Before. He plays a widowed child psychologist who meets a client connected to his past. Different role for Billy Crystal. That's coming right up on CBS Mornings.
All right, time for some Monday birthdays in the 4 states. We're starting in Humboldt with Sophia Gillette celebrating birthday number 4. Happy birthday.
And in Joplin, a happy 9th birthday to Lydia Ramirez. It says, love your dad, mom, Gunner, and Feather.
And in Golden City, Jared Hank Wilhelm is celebrating birthday number 41 with best birthday wishes coming from G-Dub, and Mama.
And in Pittsburgh, a happy 42nd birthday to Angela Carlinger.
And over in Carthage, Shirley Hounshall celebrating birthday number 64. Happy birthday, Shirley.
And in Erie, a happy 74th birthday to Dallas McCoy. It says here, happy birthday, Pop, we love you.
And a big one in Chautauqua, Anita Schufelt celebrating birthday number 101. Talk about a milestone, says happy birthday from all your family and friends.
And continuing our list with the big happy birthday to Lisa Barker.
All right, another great list of birthdays and anniversaries. And of course, if you would like to submit and celebrate with us, Elise has some information you need to know.
Yes, go ahead and submit those birthdays and anniversaries to birthdays at KOAMnewsnow.com. Be sure to include those photos, messages to meet the deadline that you see there at the bottom of your screen, and to also include the date of your celebration when submitting as well.
You certainly want to make sure you do all of that, and you want to make sure that you are driving safely this morning, because we got a couple of things going on. One, we have dense fog, okay? Two, we have heavy drizzle in some locations, which on its own is leading to reduced visibilities. And three, the heavy drizzle leading to wet roadways, which means a few slick spots out there you've got to watch out for. Now, when you combine that with the fog and the inability to see the road ahead of you, it causes some problems. We have dense fog advisories across the entire western half of our viewing area. And these, for most of us, that's all of Kansas, run until 10 a.m. through, in northeastern Oklahoma, they run through 9 o'clock this morning. But we could also be contending with reduced visibilities all the way through 1 o'clock this afternoon. I'm going to tell you why here in just a moment, but here's a look at those visibilities. Take a look at this. This is very widespread dense fog. We've had dense fog, but I don't think it's been quite some time since it's been this widespread. We've got zero visibility in Iola, and then significantly reduced Yates Center, Fredonia, Chanute, Fort Scott, Pittsburgh, Independence, Parsons, dropping now to just a mile, Sedan just a hair over a mile. Some of it trying to leak into the eastern portions of our area. So we do have some reduced visibilities. Anderson, Nevada, Stockton, Carthage, Joplin, Bentonville. You got to watch out. And of course, northeastern Oklahoma, these visibilities holding so far, about 1.5 miles, and they haven't really changed a lot down there, but still, low beams, not your high beams. Slow down. Fog lights if you've got them. And remember, most important thing, it is better to be a little late to wherever it is you're going than not get there at all right? So just be cautious out there this morning and into the afternoon. So by later this afternoon, visibilities could still be reduced as late as noon or 1. I don't think it'll be nearly as significant as what we're seeing now, but between heavy drizzle and perhaps some lingering patchy fog, it could lead to some reduced visibilities out there. These little green splotches are the future track's best representation of patchy drizzle that'll continue for us. We're otherwise cloudy. Temperature's not too bad. Most of us should make the low, maybe even some mid-50s out there. I will go mostly cloudy this evening, and then overnight we go partly cloudy. A cold front pushes through this evening. It's not until a little after it pushes through that temperatures really start to drop. The first thing we'll notice is north winds picking up out there. We're going to start our Tuesday into the 30s, and as we head into the afternoon hours, we're talking partly cloudy skies on our Tuesday, gusty winds, and temperatures only upper 30s and low 40s, and that same pattern will repeat as we head into our Wednesday as well. Not looking too bad from our Cameron 7th and Range line in Joplin. 48. Airport's reporting 4 miles of visibility. Across the area, most of us are in the mid to upper 40s. We still have that string of 50s, Newada, Veneta, and Miami. We're going to be 47 to start, cloudy, foggy, drizzly, and about 50 by 11. Temperatures don't really move that much through the morning hours. We're going to have another look at your forecast, talk about the roller coaster ride of temperatures that does continue, plus the news you need to know here in just a moment. And when we switch over to Fox 14 at 7 a.m., we're going to see how a Texas man teaches math by day and fashion by night.
Here's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door. 20-year-old Malachi Doyle of Topeka, Kansas has been arrested after he T-boned another car. The 36-year-old woman was from Asbury and was transported to a hospital where she later died from her injuries. Doyle is being charged with a felony driving while under the influence of drugs, causing the death of another and failure to yield. Well, Joplin's first responders were alerted to a house fire from the 700 block of South Roosevelt early Sunday morning. Visible flames were extinguished within 5 minutes, but firefighters spent some time working on the roof as the fire had extended but not breached the roof decking. There were no injuries to the residents or the firefighters. Around 200 kids were given a chance to shop with a cop this past weekend. Each child was able to choose from teachers, school counselors, or other school leaders to shop on the day. Shop with the Cop is an annual event giving the chance for kids to participate every year. And that's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door.
As you head out the door, keep in mind dense fog advisories all of Kansas and Oklahoma, and very reduced visibilities out there as well, even zero visibility in some locations, so be careful this morning. Could see some reduced visibilities through about noon, maybe even 1 o'clock between some fog and heavy drizzle. Otherwise, low 50s, mostly cloudy, and northwest winds around 5 to 10 miles an hour. Partly cloudy this evening, low 40s by 10. Cold front comes through, north breeze gusting up to 20, lows back into the 30s. And as we head into tomorrow, upper 30s, low 40s, still north winds gusting out there, 25, maybe 30. We'll fall back into the 20s Tuesday night, upper 30s, low 40s Wednesday, and worry not. Our 5th straight week of roller coaster temperatures continues. We warm back up this weekend. Shower chances Friday and Monday, and then another drop in temperatures next Tuesday into Wednesday.
Well, coming up today at noon, we're making reindeer crunch salad in the Mr. Food Test Kitchen.
And your morning news continues on KOAM with CBS Mornings. Golden Globes are only a few weeks away. Only on CBS Mornings, the announcement of nominees in some of the top categories for this year's show.
Or you can switch on over with us on Fox 14, where your only local morning news continues. This morning, new data shows retailers like Walmart, Amazon, Temu, and Shein did exceptionally well during Black Friday sales.
Plus, Lori Horton joining us back in the studio to finish up those incredible bourbon chocolate sugar cookies. However, it's going to wrap it up for us for now. We'll see you back here tomorrow morning at 5 a.m.
And we'll see you today at noon.